Bald eagles perching high above, a symbol of the American spirit. Humpback whales breaching the surface of the ocean on their 1,000-mile swim. These are just a couple of the animals we think of when we hear about endangered or threatened species. Majestic creatures whose protection is obviously merited and unquestioned. Not every threatened species falls into that lofty category, however. In the case of the Utah prairie dog, listed as threatened in 1984, the federal law indicates they are in need of protection, but local sentiment in Iron County sees them as a destructive nuisance.
But the big problem we have in the county is with development. The prairie dogs are in control, not the people.
Prairie dogs are small, between 12 and 14 inches long, and they live exclusively in North America. They burrow underground, eating primarily flowers, seeds, and grasses. Hunting and habitat encroachment over the first half of the 20th century hurt Utah prairie dog populations, and in 1973 they were listed as an endangered species, dropping to threatened status in 1984. Even then, their protected status caused a lot of anger. Since then, prairie dogs have done extensive damage to private properties like the Cedar City Golf Course, the Parowan Airport, and even the Paragoula Cemetery. Local government officials feel they have few options available to them.
We fought them for a number of years, but they progressively got worse and worse, and then they started eroding under the tombstones and tipping them over. People were saying they were going to move the people that they had at our cemetery someplace else because of the prairie dogs. And I've asked Division of Wildlife, Fish and Game, please come and trap them. They do a few, but we just seem to get more and more each year.
There should be some kind of an exception in the rule to allow them to go in there and just poison and get rid of those dogs in that cemetery. The Division of Wildlife, working with the BLM and the Forest Service, has translocation sites that they take prairie dogs to, and they've been taken off farms, but they do a pretty good job of trapping, and they take hundreds of dogs off, but then the last few get trap-wise and they cannot catch them, so they're never moved, and then the next year they have their young and they just come roaring back.
They says, oh no, we can't kill them. Well, if they're not going to kill them and they can't trap them, how are they going to get them down to zero?
It seems like we've been trapping and moving prairie dogs for so long, and we're just not seeing the success that we'd like to. We've implemented a lot of new measures to make translocation success greater, but still we have these small problem areas that we'd like to really find long-term solutions to.
One solution that solves the problem for both sides of the issue is the Utah Prairie Dog Relocation Implementation Program. This organization is made up of 20 partners from the region and across the state who hope to move prairie dog populations away from cities and towns. The full financial toll to farms, businesses, and counties is not known. Many of the local residents want the prairie dogs gone, while local leaders and the Utah Division of Wildlife struggle to find some short-term solution to the conflicts while the relocation debate continues.
We work closely with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, but we are restricted in what we can do as a state agency by rules governed and handled by the Endangered Species Act. And we can't trap them all. So then when we come back the next spring, oftentimes we have just as many animals as we started with the previous year, which is frustrating because in areas like cemeteries or airports, we want to solve the problem and get them out of there.
We've been dealing with this issue since the 1970s, and there's really been no change. It's actually gotten worse. We haven't saved the species, we haven't protected the species. It's just getting more and more difficult for property owners and everyday citizens to live within the confines of this community here, and we need to get them out of our cities, out of our parks, out of our golf courses, and the only way to do that is to change the law.
The question now is, what can the federal government do to help the state manage prairie dogs in Iron County? We'll find out in our roundtable discussion. For the county seat, I'm Terry Wood.